police seeking to create better relationships with the communities they serve. Our team has everything you need to know about today's National Night Out events and the impact they could have on the crime crisis. A teen murdered 1 year ago and still no suspects. New today, his mother opens up to Fox 45 News on her ongoing fight for justice and the toll the violence has taken on her family. Then accusations of spying against the Harford County executive, why he claims his actions are within the law.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We are following multiple stories in a city in crisis. A controversial decision is raising questions about what's happening inside Baltimore courtrooms. The calls for more transparency after a prosecutor's sick day led to a murder case being thrown out.
A mother demands justice for her 17-year-old son, asking why more progress hasn't been made in catching his killer in the year since his death.
And this all comes as the city celebrates National Night Out, an effort to help communities connect with law enforcement. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. We have team coverage tonight on a city in crisis, starting with Keith Daniels with the latest on what type of impact city leaders hope National Night Out can have in the crime fight. Keith?
Well, Kai and Mary, we're live here at the Delta Center here in Park Heights. Mayor Brandon Scott is expected to kick off tonight's events happening in Baltimore from this spot right here this evening. Now, this annual event is one of 60 different events happening in neighborhoods across the city like we've seen before, all part of the National Night Out. Now, the mayor and other city and state leaders are expected to make several of those gatherings. The events are part of a national initiative aimed at creating stronger relationships between communities and police. And of course, that can be essential, they say, in helping to control crime. Now, Baltimore's new city state's attorney, Ivan Bates, is also taking part in these events, and Maryland's U.S. Attorney, Eric Barron, is also expected to participate. In fact, we plan on catching up with both of them to talk about, or take a closer look rather, at how their partnership is helping to control crime here in Baltimore City. But for now, the event's getting underway here in Park Heights. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. Looks like a big gathering there in Park Heights. We'll have more on the mayor's news conference and more information on National Night Out in Baltimore, live at 4:30 when it starts getting started.
Well, this year, 159 people have been killed in the city. 395 have survived being shot. And while those numbers are down from last year, there are serious concerns over a rise in youth crime. At least 13 juveniles have been killed, while more than 60 have survived being shot. The latest happened yesterday when police say a 17-year-old girl was one of 3 people shot in West Baltimore. City residents are calling for change.
A lot of things that's happening, it's children. It's children running around shooting each other and stuff like that.
Well, meanwhile, the mother of a Baltimore teen who was murdered is pleading for justice. It has been 1 year since 17-year-old Eve Enriquez was shot and killed in a quadruple shooting in southwest Baltimore, and no arrests have been made in the case. Alexa Asheville spoke with the mom, joins us live now with her plea. Alexa?
Yes, Mary, not only does this mother want justice for her son, the case remains unsolved. She also wants the city to do more to better protect young people.
Family and friends released balloons in memory of Baltimore teen Eve Henriquez, who was shot and killed just 2 days before his 18th birthday 1 year ago.
July 29th, I lost my son. My kids lost their brother and their mother because I'll never be that same mother again.
Ive's mother, Makia, here talking over Zoom, but this time last year from the couch of her home in Baltimore.
I knew that this day could come. I did.
Ive was one of 2 people killed in a quadruple shooting in southwest Baltimore back on July 29th, 2022. The other victim, 34-year-old Bartimaeus Morris.
I just want to know why.
Investigators then said suspects in a stolen car had opened fire in the busy intersection here on North Avenue.
We hear boom, bow, boom, bow, bow.
But exactly who did this and why are questions that still haunt Makia.
I definitely do want justice. I do. but I don't see it happening. All these murders, they just keep coming. It's nonstop, murder after murder after murder. And then there's so many children, which is heartbreaking. Like, what is going on with our youth that it's so many youth losing their life to gun violence?
Makia, troubled by her son's unsolved case and the level of violence in Baltimore that's seemingly impacting more and more young people. Before Yvay's death, the mother admits she was struggling to keep him in school, but says getting help was even harder.
I talked to so many people, and it was like, oh, he never been locked up. He don't have a bad record in school. It's nothing we could do. Basically, like, we have to wait till something happened to get help. The last person that I talked to, I don't even remember what number it was or what office it was. And she was just like, just make sure you have some life insurance on your son.
Makia's worst fear turning into reality 1 year ago. The mother on Zoom because she's since moved her family out of Baltimore.
I have another son and a grandson, and I just want them to have a chance to be able to survive and grow up and, you know, be adult men and not lose their life to Baltimore City streets.
I did reach out to Baltimore police asking where this investigation stands. A spokesperson responded saying the department has not yet identified any persons of interest or suspects in this case or a motive. So still many unanswered questions 1 year later. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. As juvenile crime continues, some state and local lawmakers are taking issue with two juvenile justice laws. One is the Juvenile Justice Reform Act. It prevents children 13 and under from being charged with most crimes. If a child does commit a misdemeanor, the maximum sentence is 6 months probation. If a child commits a felony, the maximum penalty is 1 year probation. And then there's the Child Interrogation Act. That stops law enforcement from speaking with any child until they've spoken with an attorney. Unlike adults, children can't waive the right to speak with an attorney. Now, critics have called on the governor to call a special session to pass new laws to curb crime. The governor says that will not happen. Fox 45 News has heard from several state leaders who believe the laws tie the hands of police and prosecutors.
I think without question, over the last several years, the General Assembly has changed a number of the laws that deal with juvenile crime. And I think that's certainly led to some problems.
To be honest, I think it's one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever read, because what it has done is taken the process of holding juveniles accountable away from prosecutors.
It's becoming more and more difficult to hold juveniles accountable.
Well, one of those top concerns, if a young person is charged as a juvenile, all of the information about the case is hidden from public view. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think information about juveniles charged with serious crimes should be kept private? So far, 98% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
The controversial court ruling that had a first-degree murder case dismissed is now leading to transparency concerns inside Baltimore City's courtrooms. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports a former state prosecutor says there's a lack of access to important documents. Rebecca?
That's right, Kai. That controversial decision is now raising questions about what's really happening inside Baltimore City's courtrooms. On Monday, Administrative Judge Melissa Finn denied a one-day delay for a sick prosecutor, causing a first-degree murder case to be thrown out before the trial even began. According to legal expert and former state prosecutor Coley Stimson, it's not the first time Judge Finn's judgment has caused concern. However, he says when it comes to searching a judge's track record, what decisions are made and by who is hard to trace behind a closed courthouse door. Unless you're watching the trial take place in person, court records are difficult to obtain, audio is not accessible, and video is not permitted.
The total lack of transparency. Maryland doesn't want the public and the press to have access to audio recordings of criminal proceedings. Last time I checked, the Sixth Amendment right, there's a Sixth Amendment right to a fair and open proceeding.
Meanwhile, several attempts to improve judicial transparency in Maryland have all been shot down over the years by the Maryland legislature. I'll have more on that coming up in our full story tonight at 5. But for now, reporting live outside of the Mitchell Courthouse, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, Judge Melissa Finn has handed down a few high-profile decisions, including the decision to vacate the sentence of Adnan Syed. The family of Hayman Lee argues Finn and prosecutors violated victims' rights, saying they didn't give Lee's brother enough time to attend the hearing and give a victim impact statement in person. Syed's conviction was later reinstated. The Maryland Supreme Court will hear the case this October. Judge Finn also accepted a plea deal from Marilyn Mosby's office that released convicted arsonist Luther Trent. Trent served less than 6 months in jail after he admitted to trying to burn down his ex-girlfriend's house with her and her roommates inside. Finn eventually overturned the plea deal. Federal prosecutors went on to sentence him to 12 years in prison. Last June, police say Austin Davidson killed a Wicomico County sheriff's deputy. In 2019, he faced 20 years for armed robbery, but Judge Finn sentenced him to probation before judgment setting him free. And days after that case, Fox 45 News learned Joseph Black, the man accused of hitting and dragging a police officer with his car, was also out on a plea deal from Finn's courtroom. He had been charged with attempted homicide, but that was pleaded down to handgun charges, setting him free after serving 20 months.
A Maryland small business owner is filing a lawsuit in federal court against the Department of Agriculture. He says he was denied the right to accept SNAP benefits as payment at his corner stores. Records indicate a rejection stems from previous convictions for drug and firearms possessions 19 years ago. In 2004, Altamont Mark Wilkes went to prison for drug trafficking and possessing a firearm and was released in 2018. After his release, he opened Carmen's Corner Store. Now, according to the USDA, anyone with any prior alcohol, drug, tobacco, or firearm offense can't accept SNAP payments. Wilkes is appealing.
Entrepreneurs like myself need a chance to not only become productive members of our communities and society as a whole, but to be the people that we need to be, not only for our families, but for this nation of ours.
Fox 45 News will follow this case. You can get updates on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
The Harford County executive changing his response to wiretapping allegations, why he says he had every right to monitor a council member's emails.
Justice for the family of Henrietta Lacks. What we know about a settlement more than 70 years after her cells were taken for medical research.
Time is running out for the O's to make a big move before the trade deadline, taking a look at the ways the team could still improve the roster for a playoff push.
And we are tracking some really nice weather that's coming our way. It looks like after a gorgeous day today, another one for tomorrow. I'm going to let you know how long that lasts and when humidity and heat come back in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
I'm not sure if you heard, the Baltimore Orioles are in first place. Some people know about that. But they do want to improve their lineup heading into the final stretch of the season. The trade deadline tonight could be their best chance to do that.
Fox 45's Morgan Adsit joins us in the studio now, tracking the latest on the moves the team could be making before time runs out. Morgan.
Yeah, fans are going to love it. Not a lot happening. The Orioles are the #1 team in the American League, and they have a 1.5 game lead over the Rays in the AL East. They've watched a number of contenders, including 2 in their own division, with the Rays and Blue Jays making trade moves for a postseason run. They also own trade chips with baseball's top farm system, but so far, Mike Elias and company are not players in the trade game. They have until today's deadline, 6 o'clock, so still time. Starting pitching and potential bullpen arms, the areas even Elias himself has said the Orioles need. One of those strongly linked to the team was 3-time American League Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander, but the Mets are going to send him back to Houston with the Astros. He won 2 World Series there and was one of the best arms in the AL. A loss for the Orioles. Only the front office really knows how close this got, but I would imagine teams are asking for untouchable players on the O's roster and or prospects. But the O's could use an established starter who can eat innings and win in October. Bullpen relief for the O's could be coming from within. DL Hall is heading back to Norfolk, and John Means could return soon. The same for Tyler Wells, who left the rotation for Bowie, but could return in the pen. As far as starters, the Tigers are looking to unload. They've got 2 rotation arms and former O's prospect, Eduardo Rodriguez and Michael Lorenzen. But Lorenzen will be making his way now to Philly.
Morgan, thank you. The extreme temperatures we saw across the country last week are finally kind of cooling down. As things cool off, a record-long hot streak in Phoenix ends. The city had 31 consecutive days of 110 degrees or higher. While that streak was broken with a high of 108 degrees on Monday, temperatures could climb above 110 again tomorrow.
Well, we are also seeing a bit of a cool down here in Baltimore. You're looking live at the Inner Harbor and Towson. The weather dipping from the near triple-digit highs we were dealing with last week and the week before that. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers in now with the very latest. I mean, it is perfect, gorgeous weather, right? Like it's clean, clear.
Yes.
Yeah,
you can breathe the air.
You can breathe it.
We end July with what we saw with the near triple-digit heat, and then we begin August. You'd think it'd be hotter, but no, it's cooler. It's beautiful. Feels almost like fall.
But I'm a little suspicious, right? Because August can be tough.
This is fake fall here. Anyway, well, we got some comfy and dry weather for now. We're tracking the next weather maker. Rain chances do come up for week's end, and the best rain chance, I think, comes toward Friday. Although Thursday, there could be a chance of some showers, and it will, yes, unfortunately be heating up once again. But for now, we are going to love it. We are tracking the next weather maker. There's the rain, the thunderstorms up toward Minneapolis, Winnipeg, into southern Canada. That is going to move south and east. But until then, some acres of mainly clear skies. Beautiful shot here of the winning Orioles in Camden Yards. We've got Toyota East Inner Harbor Skycam shot with 81 degrees. Partial sun, winds out of the northwest. That is key at 8 miles an hour. Those will stay, those winds out of the north and west, for tomorrow as well. And that will keep us dry and comfy cool like we're seeing today. Temperatures in the 70s. So right around 80 degrees. Although, again, we are tracking that next weather maker. I think it stays dry rest of today. Tomorrow should be a dry day as well. But you notice around the big dome of heat that's down to the south and west of us. We don't want that, but it does look like we'll be in kind of the transitional zone, if you will, in between some cooler air north that we're enjoying now and the heat down to the south. That leads to rain and thunderstorms. And you see that beginning to sprout up here later Thursday. There could be some spot shower and storm chances, but especially, again, it looks like maybe Friday as well. Let's take a look at the future scan as we head through the rest of today into tonight. Temperatures settling through the 70s to right around 80 degrees overnight into early tomorrow morning. Looking pretty dry and temperatures nice. A lot of low 60s when you start the day. I think some of these temperatures may be overdone a little bit. And then by tomorrow lunchtime, just a few patchy clouds. Temperatures getting close to about 80, 85, we'll say, just like today. Notice some of that rain as we head way later now toward Thursday timeframe. We're fast forwarding. That's off to the north and west. Some computer models are saying this could begin to work in toward, say, Thursday afternoon, and then Friday, there's that next weather maker with a better risk of some on and off showers. And look at those cooler temperatures, 70s to right around 80 degrees as we wrap up the work week. So let's go ahead, take a look at that forecast again for Wednesday, 85 degrees, some dry skies. There are some afternoon storms on Thursday. Then Friday, a few storms around as well. Weekend looks good, although, as I mentioned, it will begin heating up. Temperatures about 80, 85, maybe even by Saturday, Sunday, close to 90. We stay near 90 into early next week. So, again, doesn't look like we're to stay with this gorgeous weather we've been enjoying as we head through the next several days.
Jonathan, thanks. Was the Harford County executive within his rights to monitor the email of some government employees? We examine the county's IT policy and talk with a political expert. Filling the holes left by a failing education system, how a group of tutors is working to make sure Baltimore students are not left behind.
Just how much are all these legal cases costing former President Trump? And is his campaign on the verge of running out of money? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look.
Well, the waiting game continues for former President Trump to see if he will be indicted again and possibly twice more. Charges are being weighed in both Washington, D.C. and Georgia. And new information shows the cases are costing Trump's team a lot of money. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
In another familiar scene pending a potential indictment, as TV equipment and barricades go up, Trump's bank account reportedly going down. The New York Times reports after spending on lawyers' fees to keep Trump out of prison, his political action committee is nearly broke, which began last year with $105 million and now has less than $4 million in its account. The paper saying Trump's team has spent tens of millions in legal fees for the former president and his troubled associates.
Here in Washington, a grand jury is weighing possible charges against Trump for his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. And in Georgia, Trump could be charged with trying to overturn his 2020 election loss in that state.
We have prosecutors that are evil people. These are evil people.
Some believe his primary opponents should take a page from Trump's own playbook. and use it against him.
Aside from Chris Christie and a little bit from Will Hurd, you have not heard from any other Republican candidates really, slapping him the way he would slap Hillary on a daily basis.
Interesting advice that isn't always heeded because of scenes like this.
Donald Trump is not running for president to make America great again. Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison. And if we elect, I know.
Despite his mounting legal woes, Trump's base putting him at the moment seemingly out of reach of his primary foes. And Trump believes what doesn't land him behind bars only makes him stronger.
If I weren't running, I would have nobody coming after me. Or if I was losing by a lot, I would have nobody coming after me.
But they are.
You got this!
And costing him plenty. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
President Joe Biden and Donald Trump are deadlocked in terms of support for the 2024 election. According to a New York Times and Siena College poll, 43% of registered voters support the president and 43% favor Trump. The survey also shows both candidates are viewed more negatively than positively by voters nationwide. 54% say they have an unfavorable view of the president and 55% dislike Trump. Well, a key witness in the Hunter Biden investigation says he doesn't know anything about accusations the president accepted millions of dollars in alleged bribes. That's according to Republican and Democratic lawmakers at yesterday's closed-door meeting with Hunter Biden's former business associate, Devin Archer. Archer also reportedly told them President Biden never talked business with Hunter's associates.
He categorically said that he was unaware, had no knowledge of any $5 million payment made to either Hunter Biden or to Joe Biden, and would be shocked if that actually existed.
Can you talk about the bribe at all? The $5 million bribe and the
He didn't know anything about it.
Republicans are now focusing on other parts of the testimony, namely that Hunter Biden included his father in 20 conversations regarding financial arrangements. President Biden has consistently denied being involved in any foreign business with his son. Well, her cells were taken without her knowledge and used in medical research for decades. A settlement tonight in the Henrietta Lacks case. A plea for help from a Baltimore mother helps to launch a movement. Project Baltimore explains how tutors are stepping in to build an educational foundation for a group of city students. And law enforcement agencies trying to form connections to fight crime. The impact city officials hope National Night Out could have in Baltimore.
In Harford County, after first calling a county councilman's allegations of wiretap violations malicious and slanderous, County Executive Bob Casserly now admits county officials did monitor communications on county servers. According to Casserly, those actions were allowed as part of an internal investigation. This thing is heating up. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is here with more. Amy.
Yes, Kai. So this finger pointing only continues in Harford County after County Councilman Aaron Penman accused County Executive Bob Casserly of spying on his emails and phone calls. The county executive first appeared to rebuff Penman's allegations. But late yesterday afternoon, Casserly put out a lengthy statement saying the county did, in fact, review county servers for certain communications between the councilman, the sheriff, and several others. The statement went on to explain the county's director of administration was conducting an internal investigation after Councilman Penman accused the county executive of misappropriating millions of dollars. County Executive Casserly's statement points to the server search being permitted, saying county employees all sign IT and cell phone policies which waive privacy rights on county-issued computers and phones. But the councilman pushing back today, questioning if the Casserly administration has the authority to monitor another branch of government.
I do not work for the county executive. I work for the constituents of District B. It's a separate branch of government. I am not an employee of the county. Therefore, he is not privy to my emails and correspondence on cell phones.
Again today, County Executive Bob Casserly unavailable for an interview, but if monitoring communications is allowed, and this was all done above board, Fox 45 News would like to know why the county executive's story went and changed.
So, Amy, yesterday you reported that law enforcement had opened an investigation to see if there were any criminal actions here. Where does that investigation stand?
So, Kai, to ensure transparency and avoid conflicts of interest, today we learned the Harford County State's attorney referred this investigation to the Maryland State Prosecutor. And today I called State Prosecutor Chuck Howard, who said his office does not comment on the existence or status of any criminal investigation. Live in the studio this afternoon, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Well, developing now, justice for the family of Henrietta Lacks more than 70 years after doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital took her cervical cells without her knowledge. Well, today, prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced a settlement with one biotech company her family sued 2 years ago. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker reports on the historic settlement.
We are so very grateful for this day.
On what would have been her 103rd birthday.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
A major victory for the family of Henrietta Lacks, whose tissues were taken before she died of cervical cancer, becoming the first human cells to be successfully cloned.
It was a long fight. It was a long fight, over 70 years, and Henrietta Lacks gets her day.
Countless scientific and medical advances stemmed from her HeLa cells, which have been reproduced ever since, leading prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump to fight for justice for Lacks' living family, who's never been compensated, arguing companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific Inc. have unjustly profited from her cells.
My grandmother gave the world a gift 70 years ago, and we're here today to give her a gift of justice.
That justice has finally come. Crump announcing a settlement with Thermo Fisher Tuesday.
The terms of the agreement will be confidential. The parties are pleased that they were able to find a way to resolve this matter outside of the court.
It's been a struggle, and our family finally getting recognition for what she's done.
Crump and Lacks' family, while relieved with the recognition, promise the fight is not over, as many other companies have benefited from her cells for decades.
It's not a time to get complacent. It's time to buckle down, all steam ahead.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
We reached out to Thermo Fisher for comment. The company spokesperson says the parties are pleased that they were able to find a way to resolve this matter outside of court and will have no further comment. Well, tonight, a plea for help from one Baltimore mother launches a movement throughout the city.
Some call it a movement that Project Baltimore's Chris Papps finds is trying to change Baltimore by changing children's lives.
We're going to do the first one together.
765.
So what are we going to put down here?
Times 4.
Good. Oops, that's a bad zero. Let me fix that. 3,060. Did we get that?
Because of the +3.
For the next 90 minutes, these students and their tutor will work on math problems like this one.
5 by 5 is?
Strengthening a foundation that for many Baltimore City students,
That would be a 0 down here.
was never laid. An educational failure that parents like Nichelle Watkins believe
I have a black son that got to grow up in Baltimore City.
is life or death.
There's only 2 ways out. You're either going to be dead or locked up. And I don't want that for my son. I'm not going to have that for my son.
Did you see the story that Project Baltimore did on Nichelle Watkins?
Yes, I did.
John McAuliffe is the CEO of Sylvan Learning, headquartered in Baltimore County.
I did see that, as did several other members of Sylvan.
When Project Baltimore first met Watkins in February, she was desperate. At the time, her son was in 4th grade at Johnston Square Elementary, one of 23 city schools where Project Baltimore found 0 students who took the state test last year scored proficient in math. 0. This is what Watkins said about her situation.
Look around. I'm in public housing. I can't afford no $1,000 tutor from Sylvan, but that's what he needs, a tutor.
You feel horrible because you know it's a reality, which is a terrible situation. But we have a deep belief that education can change people's lives, especially children.
Thank you.
After Watkins shared her story, there is an outpouring of support from the community.
Now, though, it's time for me to know,
including this tutor, who's been working with her son one-on-one every week.
He opened his present.
Sylvan also reached out to Watkins with an offer that could help not just her child, but dozens of other Baltimore City students.
We've all seen the stories. We've seen the test scores.
This summer, Sylvan is trying something it's never done in its 40-year history.
Go to the back of your book.
A summer learning program at 3 locations around the city.
What are we doing after we did 7 times 3?
Each one offering tutoring for free.
So that's 0 right here.
These students are learning at the University of Maryland, Baltimore location. In total, 60 students signed up for the program, which focuses on math. No one was turned away.
Times 7.
So for 90 minutes a day, 4 days a week, for 5 weeks, each child will have received about $1,500 of tutoring at no cost.
Good job.
Each of these students was assessed on day 1. At the end of the program, they'll be reassessed to measure their progress.
I think that as a community, it's the greatest thing that we could do for children, is to provide them an education that gives them opportunity. It's wonderful for the parents who can afford to come to Sylvan. We would love to help as many kids as we possibly can.
Coming up next week, we will revisit the Sylvan program to show you how the students progressed. McAuliffe said if it's successful, it could be expanded to more locations in Baltimore next summer, or even duplicated in other cities. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Happening right now, city leaders and law enforcement agencies are asking Baltimore residents to show up to National Night Out.
That's right. Police departments and public safety officials across the nation hosting events designed to help connect with communities they serve. City leaders say forming those connections will be critical in creating a long-term solution to the crime crisis in Baltimore. You're looking at some live pictures right now.
That's right. Mayor Brandon Scott at the podium right near hosting a news conference on the celebrations. Let's listen in for a moment.
Collective work to evolve our city into a safer place. We want all our neighborhoods to be safer for our young people, for our older adults, everybody.
Well, coming up on Fox 45 News, we'll speak with City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who you saw at that news conference behind the mayor. We'll ask him about the impact of community events like National Night Out.
And for a full list of National Night Out events in the city and across our area, head to foxbaltimore.com.
Well, the return to school could mean some big changes for Baltimore County students. Fox 45 News is talking with the county executive about development plans and the system's new superintendent. The right sunscreen or cooler one could make all the difference on a trip to the beach. A closer look at the tools that you need to make the most of.
And of course, here at Fox 45, we are your back to school headquarters. Just a short 27 days till some of the Eastern Shore County schools go back to school, and others about 35 days. And that goes for us here in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Carroll County as well. We still have some summer to get through. I'll let you know when the next weathermaker comes through with showers and storms and when big heat returns. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Today is the police commissioner's birthday. Normally they do this the way they want, but since we in my neighborhood, we're going to do it the way I want to do it. So Mr. Commissioner, as you come up here, the DJ is going to drop it and we're going to give you official Baltimore birthday.
If it's your birthday,
yeah, where you go.
If it's your birthday, make some noise. If it's your birthday, make some noise. If it's your birthday, make some noise.
They say you got to dance, Mr. Commissioner.
If it's your birthday, make some noise. If it's your birthday, make some noise. If it's your birthday, make some noise.
Everybody, wish the police commissioner happy birthday. That's a birthday right there. That's a birthday.
Well, parents are jumping up for joy. Students are probably shedding tears, getting ready to head back to school in Baltimore County and other places around Maryland. And there could be some big changes this year. That includes a new top educator taking the school system in a new direction. Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski spoke with Fox 45 this morning about what families should expect. Here's Tom Rogers.
Baltimore County Public Schools welcomes a new leader this year as residents will see some major upgrades to basketball courts and recreation facilities. Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski says he's excited to begin the school year with the new superintendent, Miriam Yarbo. And he is working with her to help bring back the education levels before the pandemic. What about the kids that are faced with COVID? Has there been any conversation about trying to catch them up? There's been some schools across the country saying, you know what, we need to add more hours to our school year or more days. Any possibility of that happening in Baltimore County?
Well, we did fund an extra 15 minutes for our teachers and support staff in Baltimore County. The superintendent and I.
Well, and you said an extra 15 minutes. That may not sound like much to people out there, but you were talking about the entire staff.
The entire staff.
That's a big number.
Principals,
15
support
minutes,
staff.
a lot of money.
A lot of money, but it's worth the investment because we have seen some slide across the country. In response to the closures of COVID-19. And so working closely with Superintendent Yarbrough to do all that we can to identify those children who would benefit from those additional supports, even as we do things like expand pre-K and provide those wraparound services, after care, before care, to really help move our children along.
Executive Olszewski also pointed out that he has allocated more than $45 million to help resurface basketball courts and upgrade recreational facilities throughout the county to make sure our kids have safe places to play. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Hey, Fox 45 is your back-to-school headquarters. Now through the first day of school, we'll be compiling all of those things busy parents need to know to get your kids ready for school. Click the QR code right here on your screen to check out all of our stories that we've posted so far, or go to our website, foxbaltimore.com/back-to-school-HQ. In consumer news right now, Overstock.com is now Bed Bath & Beyond. Today, the site relaunched after buying the brand from bankruptcy. The move combines Overstock's online business model with popular branded products from Bed Bath & Beyond. Overstock took control of the company's name and intellectual property for $21.5 million after it went out of business. Well, certain Tesla vehicles could lose steering control or power steering. Now, safety regulators are investigating. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is aware of a dozen complaints related to multiple 2023 models. There was one reported crash, but no injuries. Investigators want to know how often it happens and how severe the problem is. It's at least the fifth probe of Teslas in the past 3 years. A massive amount of money is up for grabs tonight. The Mega Millions jackpot is over $1 billion. If someone wins the grand prize, it'll be the seventh largest lottery payout in history, with the cash value of $527 million. To win, you'll need to be lucky. The chances of getting a matching number is 1 in 302 million.
Yeah, we played a few times, and I'm still here. But anyway, comfy and dry for now. We are going to have some luck with the weather, at least the next 24 hours. But the next weather maker already gearing up, and it looks like working toward about Thursday. Could see a chance of some showers and storms. Actually, I think the best rain chance comes on Friday as heat and humidity pair up. And maybe the humidity dropping off over the weekend, but I think the heat will stay for Saturday and Sunday. And we could make 90s once again by next week. So enjoy it while we got it. A nice little break, a little fake fall, I suppose you could say, with 81 now, winds out of the northwest at 8 miles an hour. Some nice blue skies on the Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam. Feels like temperatures, unlike last week when we were worried about the temperature feeling about 10, 15 degrees warmer than the actual temperature. They're smack dab right at the temperature. That's because the humidity's low, and that stays low tonight on into tomorrow. So what you see is what you get. Temperatures, look at this, upper 70s right now, right around 80 here in Baltimore. Should be in the mid and upper 80s this time of year. So we're really enjoying something that's not too usual for this time of year. But looks like the moisture is gearing up around the big heat dome that's down to the south. I mean, we've had temperatures well up into the 90s, even 100 degrees. Yesterday I was checking in New Orleans. That doesn't happen all the time. That's down to the south of all this rain from Minneapolis to Omaha. And then you hop on the other side of the rain, and that's where the nice weather is, where we are. But that rain, that's going to be our next weather maker, going to be sliding southbound. And before any heat gets here, it looks like there will be an increased risk of showers and storms. You see there as we work through Wednesday's pretty dry. But then by Thursday, there we go. By Thursday afternoon, there is a risk of a spot shower or thunderstorm. So let's plan things out on the future scan. Overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning looks nice and dry. So when you're taking the kids to summer camp, should be just fine. Temperatures actually settled to the low to mid 60s, which is very nice for August standards. And then by tomorrow midday, few patchy clouds, high temperatures back into the low to mid 80s. And then we fast forward to Thursday. Looks like we could see some of those rain showers approaching. There you go, 6:45 through about 9, 10 o'clock. Maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm, and I think an even better risk of some rain coming our way as we head into Friday. Feels like temperatures, again, going to be exactly the same as the actual temperatures for tomorrow, if not maybe a degree or two lower with that nice low humidity. Enjoy it while you got it. 84 there Wednesday, but Thursday, that's when some of those spot PM storms move in. Scattered showers and thunderstorms for Friday. There you go, touching near 90. Heat and humidities here as our next weather maker moves through. Behind it, I think we shaved down the humidity once again for Saturday, Sunday, but the heat is going to stay 85 to 90, and it's hot and humid early next week with high temperatures 90 plus once again by next Monday and Tuesday.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock, National Night Out underway in Maryland. We speak to City State's Attorney Ivan Bates on how he thinks the crime fight is going in Baltimore. And the tools you bring to the beach could make the difference between a fun trip and a disaster for the family. Consumer Reports takes a closer look at what you need the most. We're still in the middle of summer, and a day at the beach or poolside can go from fun to fabulous with just a little bit of planning. Patrice Sanders is taking a look at the top items you need the most to make the most out of your summer.
What makes a perfect summer day?
Summer is ice cream. Family and friends, definitely. Going into the beach or like going into the pool.
A good day starts and ends without a sunburn, so you'll need a good sunscreen.
I always pack a hat, something to cover my feet, and of course, a sunscreen that's broad spectrum and has an SPF of 30 or higher.
Top in Consumer Reports test is Copper Tone Water Babies Lotion SPF 50. Make sure to reapply every 2 hours or after swimming. And no, it's not just for babies. Adults can use it too. You can keep the good times rolling with the right tunes in a portable speaker. Consumer Reports recommends the Bose Sound Clear Color 2.
It's good for sound, it's very easy to use, and it's got decent versatility.
And if you want to serve more than snacks, you'll need a cooler. Check out this $20 Coleman Chiller Cooler. With about 1 inch of insulation, it was great at maintaining a cool temperature in CR's lab tests. And Consumer Reports food safety expert says that's especially important this time of year.
Bacteria love hot and humid summer weather, which makes it the perfect time of year for harmful bacteria to multiply on food.
To keep your food cold, pack your cooler full. Try not to leave any open space and put new ice or frozen ice packs on top. And when it's time to go home, be prepared. Many national, state, and local parks are carry in, carry out. So plan to bring your trash and your recycling home with you. Consumer Reports says if you'll be driving far, try to keep the cooler in the air-conditioned part of the car. Then when you get where you're going, stash it in a shady spot. It's important to not leave food out of the cooler for more than 2 hours or 1 hour if the temperature is over 90 degrees. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Quick look at your weekend forecast. Maybe some showers and thunderstorms coming for Friday, so keep that in mind on the future scan. So could have some wet conditions for getting out of town. A high temperature near 90, and we're actually 85 to 90 both Saturday and Sunday. But look, no rain, and that actually goes for down the ocean as well. Now, on Friday, again, there could be some of those scattered afternoon storms, 78 for a high. Saturday, Sunday, great looking days. Water temperature, air temperature the same, about 75 to 80 there.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a Maryland small business owner takes legal action after being denied access to accept SNAP benefits. Why he was denied. State leaders team up to get criminals off the streets. We press City State's Attorney Ivan Bates on the type of prosecution being used.
Communities across Maryland participating in National Night Out. We talked to City State's Attorney Ivan Bates about the crime fight in Baltimore and the role he's playing.
A mother is speaking out a year after her son is shot and killed. Her calls for change as the search for the killer continues.
Plus, transparency of the court system in Baltimore under the microscope. We talked to a legal expert after a shocking ruling involving a murder case.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
A controversial court ruling that had a first-degree murder case dismissed is now leading to transparency concerns and questions inside Baltimore City's courtrooms. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. As Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports, a lack of access to important documents and information has one former state prosecutor speaking out tonight. Rebecca?
That's right. That former prosecutor tells me Maryland's court system lacks modern day technology, which in turn is creating a lack of transparency.
A controversial decision raising questions about what's happening inside Baltimore City's courtrooms. On Monday, Administrative Judge Melissa Finn denying a one-day delay for a sick prosecutor, causing the case of an accused murderer to be thrown out before his trial even began.
This particular judge is notorious.
According to legal expert and former state prosecutor Coley Stimson, it's not the first time Judge Finn's judgment has caused concern.
When you have judges who under-sentence or don't follow the law or take matters into their own hands and give slaps on the wrist instead of long prison sentences, the system breaks down.
But what decisions are made and by who is hard to trace behind a closed courthouse door unless you're watching a trial take place in person. Audio not accessible and video not permitted.
Maryland doesn't want the public and the press to have access to audio recordings of criminal proceedings. Last time I checked, there's a 6th Amendment right to a fair and open proceeding.
A push was recently made by the Hogan administration to create more clarity. Under the Judicial Transparency Act, sentencing data would have been published with the judge's name attached. But before passing, the legislature stripping the judge's name out of the bill's language. Meanwhile, several other pushes to provide live streams of criminal proceedings and allow cameras in the courtroom also shut down by the legislature.
It's a total lack of transparency.
On top of a lack of access to trials, the court records themselves also difficult to obtain.
Nothing is available online, and Maryland is lagging behind almost every other state.
Especially in Baltimore City, it can take days to access important court documents due to an antiquated system where filings have yet to be digitized, limiting access to public records.
It's despicable, and it is not befitting of a 21st century court system.
Now, Baltimore City is expected to roll out electronic court filings by May of next year, but they're the last jurisdiction to do so. And this comes about a decade after electronic filings were first piloted in Anne Arundel County. Reporting live from the Mitchell Courthouse, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, and as Rebecca mentioned, Judge Melissa Finn has handed down a few high-profile decisions, including the decision to vacate the sentence of Adnan Syed. The family of Hayman Lee argued Finn and prosecutors violated victims' rights, saying they didn't give Lee's brother enough time to attend the hearing and give a victim impact statement in person. Syed's conviction was later reinstated. The Maryland Supreme Court will hear the case in October. Judge Finn also accepted a plea deal from Marilyn Mosby's office that released convicted arsonist Luther Trent. Trent served less than 6 months in jail after he admitted to trying to burn down his ex-girlfriend's house with her and her roommates inside. Finn eventually overturned the plea deal. Federal prosecutors went on to sentence Trent to 12 years in prison. And last June, police say Austin Davidson killed a Wicomico County sheriff's deputy. In 2019, he faced 20 years for armed robbery, but Judge Finn sentenced him to probation before judgment, setting him free. And days after that case, Fox 45 News learned that Joseph Black, the man accused of hitting and dragging a police officer with his car, was also out on a plea deal from Finn's courtroom. He had been charged with attempted homicide, but that was pleaded down to handgun charges, setting him free after serving 20 months.
The mother of a Baltimore teen who was murdered is pleading for justice. It's been a year since 17-year-old Eve Enriquez was shot and killed in quadruple shooting in Southwest Baltimore. No arrests have been made so far in this case. Alexa Ashwell spoke with that mother and joins us live with her plea. Alexa?
Kai, this mother not only wants justice for her son, the case remains unsolved, she also wants the city to do more to better protect young people. Over the weekend, family and friends of Yves Henriquez gathered to honor him. A balloon release and vigil held in Baltimore. Yves, the teen, was shot and killed just 2 days before his 18th birthday last year. Investigators say suspects in a stolen car opened fire on North Avenue. 4 people were shot, 2 were killed. Who did this and why? 2 questions that still haunt Yves' mother, Makia.
I definitely do want justice. I do, but I don't see it happening. All these murders, they just keep coming. It's nonstop, murder after murder after murder. And then there's so many children, which is heartbreaking. Like, what is going on with our youth that it's so many youth losing their life to gun violence?
I did reach out to the Baltimore Police Department for the latest on this investigation. A spokesperson says it's still active and ongoing, but no suspects have been named, neither any persons of interest nor a motive. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates is teaming up with Maryland U.S. Attorney Eric Barron to address the issue of juvenile violence. Fox 45's Megan Gillen speaks to a law enforcement expert on how this partnership could be a turning point.
Maryland U.S. Attorney Eric Barron says using every tool available from both the local and state level is what is leading to a reduction in homicides and non-fatal shootings. Last year, if you remember, Barron said he would be using an Al Capone method of prosecution, targeting repeat violent offenders. Law enforcement expert Mari Richards weighing in on this crime-fighting strategy.
And now what you're seeing is what can be accomplished when you have a real partnership with a local prosecutor and a federal one. We're on the same page and going to put these repeat offenders in prison.
While we're seeing results when it comes to overall crime, juvenile crime is soaring. Will this help tackle that part of this?
Well, that's hard to say, Megan, because you've got some other issues there. With the juvenile crime reform bill, the legislature basically is letting these juvenile criminals literally get away with murder. So that's really a whole other issue.
You can listen to this entire interview on foxbaltimore.com. I'm Megan Gilland, Fox 45 News.
Well, we heard Megan reference juveniles and their part in the crime crisis. In Baltimore City, they have been at the center both as victims and suspects. According to recent Baltimore police data, 4 teens have been shot in the past week alone, the youngest just 14 years old.
Critics say Maryland's juvenile justice laws are making it harder to hold juveniles accountable. Next month, some state lawmakers will meet to talk about the rising juvenile violence and if the current laws in place are helping to stop it or actually causing more violence. Critics have called on the governor to call a special session to pass new laws to curb crime. The governor says that won't happen. Now, one of those laws at issue right now is the Juvenile Justice Reform Act. It prevents children 13 and under from being charged with most crimes. If a child does commit a misdemeanor, the maximum sentence for that crime is 6 months probation. If a child commits a felony, the maximum penalty is 1 year probation. The other is the Child Interrogation Protection Act. That stops law enforcement from speaking with any child until they've spoken with an attorney. Unlike adults, children can't waive the right to speak with an attorney. Fox 45 News has heard from several state leaders who believe the laws tie the hands of police and prosecutors.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day. They get picked up for the second one, can't detain them. They're back in the community again the next day. They pick up a third, they're back in the community again the next day.
Well, according to state law, if a young person is charged as a juvenile in any crime, even the most serious ones like murder, all of the information about the case is hidden from public view. That could be the case with the 16-year-old squeegee kid convicted of voluntary manslaughter in the death of Timothy Reynolds. The defense plans to appeal to have sentencing moved to juvenile court. If that happens, the public will no longer be able to access the details of that case. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you think information about juveniles charged with serious crimes should be private? So far, 97% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Well, it's been a beautiful day and people have been getting outside to enjoy it after an excessively hot few days last week. And even before that, we are starting to feel some comfortable 80s this week, Mary.
That's right. Unfortunately, the heat is going to make a comeback, though.
We don't want that to happen.
No, not right away. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with the latest. When's this heat coming?
Well, it looks like it's going to be a couple of days, but I think by this weekend you're going to start feeling some differences. But we are tracking the next weather maker first, and let's go ahead and take a look at what we expect coming our way. You can actually see some of the lightning over my shoulder on the HD radar right now, and here is that next weather maker. Now, first off, tomorrow's a nice dry day. Temperature's going to be in the 80s once again, but notice there it is. There's the rain that begins to come our way potentially by Thursday. And again, dry, comfy weather goes through tomorrow. Temperatures in the 80s, but rain chances do come up, at least spotty risks of showers and storms by tomorrow afternoon. And I think our best rain chance comes on Friday, and that's when temperatures could be heating up and we could be nearing 90. I'm going to let you know when we get into the 90s and how long they're going to stay. And if it's going to impact those weekend plans, it's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Still ahead, Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates will be live with us to weigh in on National Night Out. We press him on his efforts to fight crime.
The controversies in Harford County continue as a county councilman takes aim at the county executive. Why he's accusing Bob Casserly of spying on him.
A small business owner is fighting to keep his store open. Why he was denied the right to accept SNAP benefits as payment.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
The Orioles are the #1 team in the American League and have a 1.5 game lead over the Rays in the AL East. They've watched a number of contenders, including 2 in their own division, with the Rays and Blue Jays making trade moves for the postseason. They also own trade chips with baseball's top farm system, but so far, Mike Elias and company are not players in the trade game. They have until today's deadline, 6 o'clock, starting pitching and potential bullpen arms. The area's even Elias himself has said the Orioles have interest. One of those strongly linked to them was three-time American League Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander. But the Mets are going to send him back to Houston with the Astros. He won 2 World Series there and was one of the best arms in the AL. This is a loss for the Orioles. Only the front office really knows how close it got. I would imagine teams are asking for untouchable players on the O's roster and or their prospects. But the O's could use an established starter who can eat innings and win come October. Bullpen relief for the O's could be coming from within. DL Hall, he's heading back to Norfolk. John Means could soon return. And the same for Tyler Wells, who was left off the rotation heading to Bowie, but could return in the bullpen for the Orioles. Now, as far as starters, the Tigers are looking to unload. They've got 2 rotation arms and former O's prospect Eduardo Rodriguez still available, and Michael Lorenzen. He is not available. He is heading to Philly.
Feeling good about the O's and feeling pretty good about the weather, too. Toyota's Cedar Harbor sky cam showing just a couple of patchy clouds, mainly clear and 81. Now, this is August, right? Winds are calm, our humidity super low at 39%. Folks out there enjoying the dragon boats. It feels that's good news, too. Like 81. Remember last week, the 90s felt like hundreds? No more. As we lose the humidity, and these temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s, unusual for this time of year, should be in the mid to upper 80s on average. So we're sitting pretty, and this happens again tomorrow as we wait on our next weather maker, which are tracking here in upper portions of the Midwest, from Kansas City to Omaha, Minneapolis to Winnipeg. Even has some severe weather with that. Some nice weather ahead of all of that for us. It's actually a cold front that's going to be wafting its way toward us. Now, it won't be getting colder behind it, but lower humidity will set up even as heat begins to build heading on into the weekend. The hot temperatures, the real hot stuff down here toward Oklahoma City, into Arkansas, Louisiana, temperatures in the triple digits around the edges of it. This is what we call the ring of fire, if you will. That's some of this green. That's the rain, the thunderstorms. It's a ring of precipitation, if you will, a ring of disturbances between the big heat dome down to the south and the cooler air where we are located off to the north and east. So we're going to start getting in on some of that, I think, for Thursday as well as Friday, later Thursday into Friday. Let's go ahead and track some of that with our next weather maker on the future scan. Overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, nice and dry. Stays dry when you wake up, getting the kids to summer camp like I have to do. Looks like temperature is going to be settling into the 60s, so that's nice and comfortable. Open the windows on the trip in, and by noontime, outdoor lunch, temperatures close to 80 degrees. Now, as we head through into Thursday, that's when we could see a spot shower or thunderstorm coming into the afternoon. You can track some of that green that's going to be working our way all the way into 10:15 Thursday evening up into Pennsylvania. Good news is humidity does stay low until then. Feels like temperature is going to be the same as the actual temperatures on into tomorrow. We're at 84 degrees. There are those PM storms I was tracking by Thursday afternoon. Took those temperatures down a little bit with the extra clouds and that little front that's going to be hedging our way. Showers and storms re-erupt on Friday. That's our wettest day of the next 7 likely, with a high temperature right around 89. Very warm, less humid though again over the weekend. High temperatures close to 90. Good pool weather, and it stays hot and then becomes more humid into early next week. Could see a pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon, and there are your highs back into the low 90s.
Well, still ahead tonight, more questions than answers surrounding Hunter Biden's business dealings, the new information we're learning from his business partner. Plus, students will be heading back to the classroom. Before you know it, how you can save big on all of the essentials.
a national night out against crime, something that we know has plagued Baltimore and many cities for many, many generations. But we know if we continue to approach violence and crime in a comprehensive way with all of us working together in partnership with our police, our agency, but most importantly, our community, we will continue to see crime reduce in Baltimore City.
Well, happening now across Maryland and the nation, National Night Out.
It's an initiative to create a stronger relationship between communities and police across the state, and it happens on the first Tuesday of August every year.
Mayor Brandon Scott and other city leaders kicked off the event here in the city tonight with 60 events happening in different neighborhoods.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates was at that announcement, a part of it, and joins us live to talk about the importance of today. Mr. Bates, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. How's everyone?
Yeah, we're doing good. So in your opinion, on National Night Out here, an important milestone, how is the crime fight going in Baltimore and the surrounding communities?
Well, in Baltimore, we're working, we're fighting, we're growing along the process. You know, our office last week had 3 really big convictions on some murder cases. And then today we had another humongous victory of a murderer, not only of his child's mother, a fetus, as well as her daughter. Found guilty, first-degree murder, 3 life sentences consecutive. So we're doing what we're supposed to. There's so much more we need to do as prosecutors, but collaboratively, we're working together. We're reestablishing that partnership so we can go ahead and start making a safer city.
Well, let's talk about that unique partnership that you have with U.S. Attorney Eric Barron. Talk to us about that relationship in terms of the crime fight.
Yes, I mean, look, I just told you about a victory that we had on a murder case today, but last week we had another victory on a murder case, the body that the poor young lady that was missing. Thanks to the work and collaborative effort that we worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office, they were able to have both offices work together, both offices build the case. At the end of the day, we were able to hand off the evidence to us. We were able to get it across the goal line so we could get a first-degree murder. That's the type of relationship we're talking about. We're working together to go after the violent individual with guns. So now we're not looking at maybe a slap on the wrist, but when you go federal, you're going to have a significant amount of jail time. Individuals know when the U.S. Attorney's Office and the state's Attorney's Office work together as a team, we cannot be defeated. Because what we're saying to you, if you want to carry your illegal handgun, you better definitely bring a toothbrush. But now you need to bring something else because you'll be in a federal prison as well.
Yeah, Mr. Bates, you were certainly talking about the case of Akia Eggleston and the conviction in that case, which is certainly important. People tend to focus on, and rightfully so, the prosecution and then sentencing phases of that. Sometimes I feel like we forget about the law enforcement members and men and women who are out there. You've got the Regional Auto Theft Task Force, which you and Mr. Barron work with. You've got the Warrant Apprehension Task Force, which you and Mr. Barron work with. Can we talk a little bit about your relationship with police and how critical that is, particularly given Baltimore has a huge deficit of officers on the streets?
Yeah, without a doubt. One of the things that myself, U.S. Attorney Mr. Barron, understand is that we can't do this without the teamwork of all the officers, whether federal officers and the city officers. We have a lot of officers in the city. They're doing great work. They're out there. What they've decided to do and what they're really doing is we've made a commitment to them as law enforcement to prosecute the cases, but you got to bring good cases against these violent offenders. And together we're doing that. We're working with them, and they know that we have their back on the state side and on the federal side. That is what's making this team become great, and that's how we know we're getting the job done. We hope to continue to get the job done for the citizens.
And we know, Ivan, that you are rebuilding your office. How much staffing progress have you made in the state's attorney's office so far?
We've done a lot of hiring. Our goal was hopefully 50 new prosecutors by the end of the year, and the way we're going, we may have 50 new prosecutors by the end of September, which would be phenomenal for us. But it's been still a slow process. Look, I'd say we're the Orioles of 2019 when they drafted our catcher, Adley Russman and Gunnar Henderson. We see some really good young attorneys, but it takes a little time for them to be able to have the skill set, to have the training so that they can go from potential to fulfilling the potential to being good and great. When we are able to have really good prosecutors, we will only have better cases. We'll have more individuals convicted to hold the violent offenders accountable.
Mr. Bates, yesterday we reported on FOX45 News that Judge Melissa Finn denied a one-day delay for a sick prosecutor, someone who works for you, causing the case of an accused murderer to be thrown out. Your reaction to Judge Finn's decision?
Well, you know, it's mind-boggling, to be honest. And, you know, I don't like to speak negatively of other judges. They have a very difficult job as well. However, we have to remember people are people. People get sick. And asking for a one-day delay of going after an individual that's accused of a violent murder in our city, we don't feel it's violating anybody's rights. But it's something that you do because it's fair. This isn't about me or my office. This is about the victim and the victim's family. I think too often in the criminal justice system, we forget about the victims. We forget about that family. And what we're saying to the court and everybody, let's have some civility. Let's treat people the way you'd want to be treated. If that was your loved one, would you want a judge to dismiss that case for a one-day continuance? The answer is no. And that's why I can't believe this happened.
All right, it's a great point. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, thank you so much for taking some time for us tonight as you continue to be at National Night Out. It looks like it was a well-attended and successful event this year, so we thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a safe day.
You too. Well, coming up after the break, the back and forth in Harford County continues. The accusations against the county executive of spying. Plus, a decades-long battle ends with some closure for the family of Henrietta Lacks. Today's court ruling and what it means for the Lacks family. FOX45 News is following three big stories for you at 5:30.
The controversy surrounding Hunter Biden continue. We hear from one of his former business partners on alleged phone calls.
The family of Henrietta Lacks celebrating a major victory today. Today's settlement and what comes next.
First, steep accusations out of Harford County involving the county executive.
That's like the President of the United States spying on Congressman Andy Harris, or Wes Moore, the governor, spying on J.B. Jennings, a local senator. They don't do that, and we shouldn't be doing that here in Harford County.
Well, after first calling a county councilman's allegations of wiretap violations malicious and slanderous, Harford County Executive Bob Casserly now admits county officials did monitor communications on county servers.
But according to Casserly, those actions were allowed as part of an internal investigation.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson continues to investigate. She joins us live in studio with the latest. Amy?
Yeah, Mary Kai, it's typical nowadays for an employer to require its employees to sign an IT policy saying that while you're using company resources, any information or files shared can be monitored. But it raises the question of how these types of policies hold up when we're talking about elected officials and different branches of local government.
Tonight, the finger-pointing continues in Harford County.
Spying on the opposite legislative branch isn't right.
After County Councilman Aaron Penman accused County Executive Bob Casserly of spying on his emails and phone calls. The county executive first appeared to rebuff Penman late Monday afternoon. Casserly out with this lengthy statement, saying the county did, in fact, review county servers for certain communications between the councilman, the sheriff, and several others. The statement explains the county's director of administration was conducting an internal investigation after Penman accused the county exec of misappropriating millions of dollars. Casserly's statement points to the server search being permitted, saying county employees sign IT and cell phone policies, which waive privacy rights on county-issued computers and phones. Today, Penman pushing back.
I do not work for the county executive. I work for the constituents of District B. It's a separate branch of government. I am not an employee of the county. Therefore, he is not privy to my emails and correspondence on cell phones.
Again today, County Executive Bob Casserly, unavailable for an interview. But if monitoring communications is allowed, and this was all done above board, Fox 45 News would like to know why the county executive's story changed.
The optics in Harford County look awful.
A political analyst weighing in on the back and forth, picking up on a political feud.
This seems like a vendetta more than anything else. He's making it more personal in nature, and it gives, the entire council and the executive a really bad look.
Today, Fox 45 News requesting a copy of the county's IT and cell phone usage policies. Those documents, however, still bearing the letterhead of the previous Harford County executive, Barry Glassman. The first page of the IT policy clearly states that computers, systems, and files are property of Harford County and may be monitored or inspected at any time.
I don't recall signing any policy that would sign away my rights as an elected official. But again, if that policy is on the books, policy doesn't supersede law.
While this councilman says he's not aware of signing the policy, he also questions if the county executive's administration had the authority to monitor communications of another branch of government, saying he's now working to have county council move to an independent server.
This should not be tolerated in the future.
And yesterday, we've reported there was a criminal investigation into these allegations of spying and wiretap violations. Well, now the Harford County State's attorney has referred that investigation to the Maryland State Prosecutor to ensure transparency. Meanwhile, the state prosecutor says it does not comment on the existence or status of any criminal investigation. Live in the studio, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Developing now, justice for the family of Henrietta Lacks more than 70 years after doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital took her cervical cells without her knowing. Today, prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced a settlement with one biotech company her family sued 2 years ago. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker reports on the historic settlement.
We are so very grateful for this day.
On what would have been her 103rd birthday.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
A major victory for the family of Henrietta Lacks, whose tissues were taken before she died of cervical cancer, becoming the first human cells to be successfully cloned.
It was a long fight. It was a long fight, over 70 years, and Henrietta Lacks gets her day.
Countless scientific and medical advances stemmed from her HeLa cells, which have been reproduced ever since, leading prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump to fight for justice for Lacks' living family, who's never been compensated, arguing companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific Inc. have unjustly profited from her cells.
My grandmother gave the world a gift 70 years ago, and we're here today to give her a gift of justice.
That justice has finally come. Crump announcing a settlement with Thermo Fisher Tuesday.
The terms of the agreement will be confidential. The parties are pleased that they were able to find a way to resolve this matter outside of the court.
It's been a struggle. Our family finally getting recognition for what she's done.
Crump and Lacks' family, while relieved with the recognition, promise the fight is not over, as many other companies have benefited from her cells for decades.
It's not a time to get complacent. It's time to buckle down, all steam ahead.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Well, we reached out to Thermo Fisher for comment. The company spokesperson says the parties are pleased they were able to finally find a way to resolve this matter outside of court and will have no further comment.
Developing tonight, a small business owner in Maryland is filing a federal lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Agriculture after saying he was denied the right to accept SNAP benefits as payment at his corner stores. That rejection stems from previous convictions for drug and firearms possession 19 years ago. In 2004, Altamont Mark Wilkes went to prison for drug trafficking and possessing a firearm and was released in 2018. Shortly after that, he opened Carmen's Corner store. Now, according to the USDA, anyone with prior alcohol, drug, tobacco, or firearms offenses lacks the business integrity to accept SNAP payments. Now, Wilkes is appealing that denial.
Entrepreneurs like myself need a chance to not only become productive members of our communities and society as a whole, but to be the people that we need to be, not only for our families, but for this nation of ours.
45 News will follow this case as it develops. You can stay up to date on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
Taking a look at some of the stories trending across the state right now. In Salisbury, Maryland State Police are searching for the person who shot and killed a man. Happened last night at the Pemberton Manor Apartments. According to officials, 34-year-old Kevin Lamont Cheney was shot multiple times. Anybody with information is asked to contact police.
In Baltimore City, a community meeting on the Red Line takes place tonight. It was the final meeting in a series of community feedback sessions. Last month, Governor Wes Moore announced that he's relaunching the Red Line project, which would connect communities from Bayview in East Baltimore to way out in Southeast Baltimore, actually, to Woodlawn in Baltimore County.
The Maryland Department of Health highlighting the importance of back-to-school vaccinations. It is part of Immunization Awareness Month, which Governor Moore declared the month of August. The department launching a social media campaign to remind parents to keep up to date with those vaccinations.
Mercy Hospital is being recognized by U.S. News & World Report as one of the best hospitals for 2023 to 2024. Among adult specialties, Mercy was rated high, performing in orthopedics.
Continuing coverage now, Republicans and Democrats had very different takeaways from the closed-door testimony of Hunter Biden's former business associate, Devin Archer.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
Devin Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden's, telling Congress Hunter placed his dad on speakerphone during business meetings about 20 times.
Every day, this bribery scandal becomes more credible.
Republicans pointing out Archer's testimony directly contradicts Joe Biden's years-long stance he had no